Victory on the Walls, Chapter 9. I had to move downstairs because it is a very cold snow day, so it was too cold in my normal spot. So let us begin. Sanballat and his allies attacked the next morning. It was just a sortie, a warning to Nehemiah. Yet one of the sons of Hassenaah was slain. At the head of his troops, made up of young Persian soldiers, Nehemiah drove them back, Bani at his side. Once again, Nehemiah had wanted to object. Once again, Bani could almost hear the command sending him back. But the boy was no longer a petitioner. He had leaned over his mare's neck, had almost dared Nehemiah to speak. The governor of Judah had paused, then, as one who must agree, had nodded. Bani knew there would no longer be a question of his position. With that nod, he had begun a new chapter of his life. They buried the son of Hassenaah that afternoon. Since they could not lay him in his family's tomb, they put him in earth on the mountain opposite Moriah. No one wept, neither Hassenaah nor his wife. Briefly, Nehemiah spoke. "Jerusalem, O Lord," he said, "is your altar, not only of the land of Israel, but of all the world. We, not lambs, are your sacrifice upon your hearth." He picked up a clod of earth and poured it gently into the open grave. The clean scent of soil lingered in each nostril. "Jerusalem, your sons sanctify you with their blood." He raised his head to the blue sky. "Atone for us." And as all the people cried, "Amen," Nehemiah declared, "Let us go up to our stations outside the walls. Your captains are waiting to lead you. Only remember whom you defend, Jerusalem, your wives, your children, and," he paused, "the very future of Israel. Be strong and of good courage, and our God shall fight for us." They remained for a heartbeat with bowed heads. Then, with another "Amen," unspoken but echoing within their hearts, they went, each man outside the partially built walls of their holy city. Evening came and passed. Night followed, for once a starless, moonless night. "No fires," Nehemiah commanded. "Let them have no guides for their arrows." As all waited, encased in darkness and their own thoughts, two men approached Nehemiah. "Nehemiah, who goes?" Bani held his spear ready. Other spears made a half circle around Nehemiah. "It is Eliashib and Meshullam." "What do you wish?" Nehemiah asked sharply. "A word." The figures of the high priest and Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, were more clearly outlined now. "At such a time," "Because of this time," Eliashib said. A pause. "Very well, then. What is so urgent?" "Nehemiah, we desire to end this war." "I, too, desire the end of it." "Then give us leave to speak to them. They might listen to us." "To the enemy? If you call them that, they have slain your brother. What do you call them?" "Nehemiah, hear us," Eliashib was pleading. "We are Jews like you. We love Judah, Israel, our temple. Surely you do not think we would hurt Jerusalem?" "Only the dregs of our people could do that." "And I am the high priest of our people," Eliashib said, "a son of Sariah. Yes, the very same family as Ezra. Yet I disagree with Ezra and," he added after a pause, "with you. The Samaritans only wish a portion in our temple. Pagans who would come close to God, who would profane his name. But it would be a first step for them. Can you not see? If we allow them to be a part of us, they will be drawn closer and closer to God. But if we reject them, they will never know God and will remain idolaters." Eliashib, Nehemiah replied, I have heard you out, because I must believe you sincere, but ask yourself, which of these Samaritans or Ammonites have given up their false gods? It takes time, Nehemiah. We have no time. Can you not see? We are a small people, a remnant. Our strength is not in the sword. It never was, but it is here. Nehemiah touched his heart. In the power of our faith, in the purity of our faith, if we allow idolaters in, they will adulterate our pure faith. Eliashib would have protested, but Nehemiah waved him aside. No, it would be inevitable. People take from each other. We would copy them as we have in the past. Have you forgotten Zimri, who worshipped Baal Peor because of the Midianite women? Have you forgotten Solomon, who built high places for his foreign wives and their gods? Have you forgotten the women of Jeremiah's day who worshipped Neath? For Baal Peor we were punished with plague. For Solomon's sins, Israel was split in two. For the idolatry of the women, we went into exile. Are plague, disunity, and exile not enough, or are your memories weak? Nehemiah, Eliashib said, I remember Ruth. Her blood flowed through David's veins. Then you must remember what she said. Your people shall be my people, your God, my God. She came to Israel with all her heart and soul. Chemosh, her God, Moab, her land, the king of Moab, her father, all these she gave up completely. Have Sanballat or Tobiah or any of their people ever spoken thus? Give them a chance, Meshullam pleaded. Perhaps they would. I have met Sanballat. A pause. Did not Eliashib know? Yes, Eliashib said. I sent him against my orders. I would do it again, Nehemiah, for the sake of Israel. You take too much upon yourself, high priest. I am the governor. Remember that in the future. High priest or not, I shall take measures. When the high priest spoke, his voice was so low, Bani could barely hear his words. You have the authority, Nehemiah. I shall not argue that, but you shall be judged nevertheless. By whom? By the future, Nehemiah. I prefer God, Eliashib. He searches the heart. The heart of man can err. What then should I use, Eliashib, seeing it is all I have? Then use it with humility, Nehemiah. Yes, Bani thought. Eliashib had scored. Humility was not Nehemiah's strong point. Eliashib, Nehemiah said, I pray I shall ever walk humbly with God and with his sons, but, and his words cut like steel, I pray I shall never be humble before evil or treason. And now, if you truly love Jerusalem, to your posts, my lords. With a stiff bow, the two disappeared into the darkness. Before dawn, the combined armies of Samaria, Ammon, Ashdod, and Arabia attacked, their chiefs on horseback in the vanguard of the foot soldiers. The battle lasted until noon. Throughout the fighting, Nehemiah could be seen on his mount, slashing, shouting, charging, rallying. It was almost impossible for Bani and the rest of the young bodyguards to keep up with him. As the sun rose higher and higher in the heavens, the Judeans gathered new strength. Whether it was the memory of Hassenaah's son or the example of their governor, they pressed so hard the enemy's ranks finally broke. Nehemiah pursued them, determined to destroy all opposition forever. But as he ignored the foot soldiers he could have slain with one sweep of his sword, Bani realized he was pursuing one man only. Was that man Sanballat or Geshem? The fleeing horseman turned in his saddle. No, it was another, hard to discern but unmistakable. Tobiah! Bani shouted. The horseman in fury bore down upon him. Yes, it was the renegade Jew. Bani fixed his arrow, drew his bow, but as he was about to release it, Another horseman swept down from another side. A red jewel flashed. A blazing knife seared the length of his arm. The air whirled with black arrows. He slid from his saddle. An abyss yawned to engulf him. But before he disappeared into its depths, he heard his uncle's hoarse cry of despair. "Bunny! Bunny, answer me! Answer me!" He woke in a darkened chamber. His right arm ached. His tongue was rough and thick. "Bunny!" A cool hand touched his head. "Water," he tried to say, but only a rasping sound came forth. "Do not speak." Again, the cool hand brushed him. Afterwards, he had no idea how long afterwards, someone held a cup to his lips. He tried to drink, but half of the liquid spilled over his chin. A strong yet gentle hand lifted him. The room whirled. Again he began to fall, but this time he was held tightly against a hard body. The smell of leather and sweat rilled his nostrils. A beard pressed against him, and distinctly he felt a kiss on his forehead. "Bunny, Bunny," his name was spoken in a whisper. "Bunny, get well. Do not leave me, my child. Without you I am empty. Bunny, empty." When he regained consciousness, Nehemiah was gone. A woman sat at his bedside. She attended deftly and silently. Jadon came to see him, and once Ezra visited him, but Nehemiah came not at all. Had that been a dream, that kiss, that anguish? Once his strength began to return, he recovered rapidly. Then, one morning, he refused to stay in bed. The woman left him. Within the hour, Nehemiah appeared. His uncle was barely visible beneath the grime. His beard was matted and his back bent with fatigue. "You are to stay in bed, Bani," he said sternly. It must have been a dream, Bonnie decided. That kiss, that whisper, he had dreamed them. "I am well," he protested, "and there is work to be done." "So much work, Bonnie, that I have no time for you. I must get back. No one leaves his post anymore." Bonnie threw his cover off angrily. He was half out of bed when Nehemiah grasped him. "You have been very sick, Bonnie. I almost lost you." The boy saw the fear, no, the horror in Nehemiah's eyes as he was pushed back against his pillow. "Stay here until Jadon gives you leave, Bonnie. Let me not be called again." Bonnie lay back happily. He was weak. He realized it as soon as he tried to get up. But it had not been a dream. He knew. Now, no matter what happened, he knew his uncle loved him. Perhaps, who knew, loved him as much as Jerusalem.